It took about 50 minutes, and it has all the important things regarding PSELF. So let's watch it together.
Kesian 6 dan juga semua kita.
Okay, start play.
Kesian 6 dan juga semua tingkatan 6 lah, termasuk BSKK. Saya faham BSKK juga terangkum kesian 6 dan juga semua tingkatan 6 lah, termasuk BSKK. Saya faham BSKK juga terangkum bawah bersama BPSH lah, ya. Bila kita katakan tingkatan 6, kemudian kita ada college matrikulasi dan kita ada IPG, ya. Dan di peringkat IPG ini ia hanya bersasar kepada murid pelajar pra sahaja, pra ijazah, bukan ijazah, ya. Jadi kerangka ini dia menyeluruh. Jadi from the kerangka, these 3 institutions are supposed to come up with their own document, ya. Dokumen yang mana dia perlu pilih content standard content standard dan learning standard yang tersenarai dalam kerangka tersebut. This is merely because each institution may have different goals to achieve, yeah, different objectives to achieve. So the choice of learning content standards and also learning standards that you have identified through the framework will be for the purpose of your particular institution. Ya, jadi untuk college matric dan juga IPG mereka telah berbuat demikian. Even before kita laksanakan sepenuhnya pun memang dia dah sedia ada sewaktu rintis, they already have such a document. Tetapi di peringkat tingkatan 6 ini kita baru nak develop a document yang mana menyenaraikan all the content standard and learning standards that you are going to be using in the teaching of the subject, okay, the subject of Bahasa Inggeris throughout semester 1 right up to semester 3. Okay. So these standard and learning standards are those identified by those who are also in the field and also those in the division, experts from the other divisions as well, to look into what is the current needs of that particular level. Ya, jadi bila Dr. tuan-tuan puan-puan melihat pada dokumen kurikulum nanti, dokumen standard nanti, tuan-tuan puan akan lihat bahawa ada yang LS-nya tu macam tertinggal nombor. Dia tak ada dia tak berturutan. Mungkin dia mula dengan 3.1.2 instead of 3.1.1. Ini adalah kerana sebab itu, ya. So we have to understand that it is not in the flow as what we normally see dalam kita punya BSAP sekolah rendah right up to sekolah menengah. Yang ini adalah kerana pemilihan telah dibuat berdasarkan keperluan institusi itu sendiri, ya. So from that document, daripada dokumen standard itu nanti, itulah kita wujudkan atau kita bina scheme of work, yang mana scheme of work ini membantu guru nanti untuk mereka melaksanakan their week to week lessons, ya, week by week lessons, and within a week tu you ada allocated time for it. Okay, so basically bila kita sebut tentang PISA tingkatan 6, inilah 3 dokumen utama yang perlu menjadi rujukan kepada semua yang terlibat berkaitan dengan kurikulum ini. Okay. Jadi we will go straight into the document standard and pentaksiran. So memandangkan aras tingkatan 6 ini adalah sebenarnya kesinambungan. It's actually a continuation of the secondary level. Ya, dia agak berbeza sikit dengan college matrikulasi dan juga IPG. Ya, sebab di peringkat matrikulasi dan IPG mereka ada MQA dan ISO untuk in which they have to comply with. Untuk tingkatan 6 kita tak perlu comply to such body because dia tak memerlukan accreditation. Ya. Untuk matrix dengan IPG dia perlu accreditation. Jadi because of that they need to be very very selective in the content standard and learning standard that they identify, so that they know they will be able to fulfill it. by the end of that 1 year or 1.5 year of the duration. So for our Form 6 level, this will be your main document of reference. Jadi kalau di sekolah menengah ayat tingkatan 1 hingga 5, guru diminta untuk refer straight to the SKP aliran masing-masing atau tingkatan masing-masing. Begitu juga dengan tingkatan 6, this will be your main reference document. Jadi apabila sesiapa saja happens to come down to check, this will be the document that you will be referring to, the official document that you refer to as to guide in your teaching and learning. Okay? So what is in this document? Basically kita ada information about PSELF, Post-Secondary English Language Curriculum Framework. We have a brief introduction of PSELF in the document. We also have the objectives, and we also have the 3 main things there, which is the content standard, the learning standards, and the performance standards. This is very, very much similar to your secondary, the SKP. So I believe guru-guru yang berada di Kolej 6 ini datangnya juga daripada arus perdana. You come from the mainstream, in which mainstream are very much exposed to this kind of document. So we are just progressing from there and making sure that it aligns with the current the CFR standard that we have actually targeted. Okay, so in this document kita ada juga seperti mana in the SKP for primary and secondary, we have these curriculum target levels based on CFR. The difference is if you look at secondary, we slice it a bit more between the levels. But unlike post-secondary, kita ada one target level saja, which is B2. Okay, so by the end of post-secondary 6, okay, Form 6, post-secondary Form 6, your students are supposed to exit at B2. So when they go to tertiary, when they enter tertiary, their entry level will be a B2 level. Okay, so assuming that they are exiting at B2 and they are entering at B2, should their courses, the courses that they take up at tertiary level requires a B2 requirement, then they have already complied to it. Okay, but should they require a level a level above, and therefore they will have to take another test to actually get the target level. Okay, so kalau kita tengok, we look at the target levels here. Form 6 very clear is B2. Jadi bila kita kata B2 tu, I understand we have 3 semesters in Form 6, but we are not saying that they have to achieve B2 at semester 1 or at 2. They should be able to achieve B2, the expected level of B2 by the end of that, which is by the end of semester. Okay, so six, we are with the assumption that they leave secondary at B1 high. I know in some cases it may not be the case, but in some contexts this might not be the case, but then that will be the expected level these students are supposed to exit at secondary 5. So we are actually enhancing their language proficiency, in which be aware of that. But even at the workplace, they are still able to utilize language at its maximum. Okay, and secondly is actually to provide these students the opportunity to use language for personal, for intellectual development, tertiary, and also future workplace demands. So the intended context is very wide. It ranges from the personal right up to the workplace demands. So in knowing that, when teachers are actually coming up with lessons in the classroom with regard to the document, they have to have this in mind, that the context in which you create in the classroom, that you allow your students to be exposed to in the classroom, should cater for this requirement. Yeah. The third aim is to enable them to use language in expanding their knowledge, experience, the culture of others, and also expanding their worldviews. So this is through the reading skills, all right? So it's not just about knowledge, but it's also about looking at how culture of others and also extending their worldviews by exposing them to social issues, for example. Okay? And finally, it's actually to develop language competence to communicate effectively and critically. Now, at post-secondary level, I believe the word critical is no longer a taboo. It is something that it has to be a practice among post-secondary students, whereby their views or even their thinking skills has to go beyond the third one. It has to go beyond application. It has to reach analysis, synthesis, and even creating new views about things.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Doctor. Right, yeah? The framework is the end goal is to create or to produce, not to create, to produce a competent language user. Now, if you look at the CFR levels, B2 comes under the independent user, all right? Independent user of the language, and they are supposed to be at that level. And how are we going to do that within the framework is by integrating these three components there, which are the generic skill, the language competence, communicative competence, and also values and attitudes. This has to be integrated, and you have to reflect that in your classroom context, okay, with your post-secondary pupils. Okay, so going into the document, I was informed that there is a document which was issued in 2016 that allocated the number of minutes that you need to tackle this subject per week. Yeah, so it was stipulated in the document that you have a minimum of 320 minutes a week in order to cover the curriculum. So 320 minutes is the minimum, so it means that you can actually have more should your school or the school is able to cater for that. Yeah, because I understand not all Form 6 possibly offer the same stream or the and depends on the number of students you have available and also the number of teachers that you have to actually deliver the content. Okay. So in this document, basically you will have these three main things, which is the content standard, the learning standard, and the performance standards. Very much familiar to, very much similar to the SKP that we have at primary and also secondary. So I believe you have no problem with content standard, learning standard, and performance standards. Yellow, you're okay, yeah? This is something that is routinely you will be dealing with also when you deal with teachers. So the performance standard is there for you to actually do either in-class assessment or formative assessment, even if summative assessment, but it can also be a peer assessment. That means students can use that as a benchmark or a point of reference for them to even self-evaluate their own level. Okay, so it does not confine to only teacher assessing, but also students assessing themselves. Okay, so you already have those rubrics to actually assist you. The descriptors are there to actually assist whoever who would like to do assessment to use it as a reference. Okay, so in terms of content standard, All right, I'll just go briefly to the content. So in terms of listening, we have the way it is arranged. If you have a look at it, we have the content standard, then we have the focus. All right, focus will actually help you to be more specific in what are the things that you have to teach or expose your students with. Okay, followed by the learning standards. Now, if you look on the side here, you will see that for learning skill, we have identified learning content standard 1.1 till 1.4. Okay. But Azani, do the ELOs and also teachers have in their hand, or are they shared with this document already? Do we have it in their keeping? In their
No, not yet.
Okay, so we're giving them a preview first, right?
Yes.
Okay, so basically this is how it's going to look like. So you will have 1.1 to 1.4 for listening, and for each of this, for each of the learning content standard, these are the learning standards that Form 6 have agreed to cover. All right, have agreed to cover. So for learning standards, I think there's not so much because it's actually very much in sequence. So if you look at learning standards, we have 1.1.1 until 1.1.3 like this. Okay, and 1.1.2 to 1.2.5. For the content standard 1.3, you have 2 learning standards, and content standard 1.4, you have 3 learning standards. And all these learning standards will be the ones that you will have to focus on in conducting the curriculum for semester 1 right up to semester 3. Okay, so this is content standard and learning standards. So after you have taught them, you have exposed them the skill, then you must, at some point of your teaching, you need to assess them to see whether they are at the level that they are supposed to. So with that, the document also provides a performance standard, an overall performance standards, and also a performance standard based on the skills. Okay. So in terms of performance standard, we need to understand this. There are 6 levels altogether, but level 3 is where it is the expectation of the curriculum target, meaning this curriculum is developed to meet or to exit at B2. So if the student is at 3, that means you have fulfilled the requirement of the curriculum target. Okay. So in any point during across the 4 skills, when you assess your learners, you assess your students, and you find that they have fall under the category of a level 3, then your students are there already at that juncture, at that point whereby they are a B2. Okay. However, we do not deny that we do have students who have exceeded the level, the target level, who will exceed the target level. However, we cannot claim that they are a C1 or a C2 merely because the content of the curriculum does not have enough items that represents a C1, C2. We don't even have a C2. We only have C1, but then the C1 item are very minimal. Okay, most of the items fall under B2, and we have a few B1 items. I will explain to you why we have B1 later on. Yeah, but we do have a range of B1 right up to C1. However, the bigger portion will come from the B2 learning standards. Okay, so in conducting performance level of assessment, in conducting assessment, teachers needs to understand what each of this level means. Okay, so if you look at the table, you will see that performance level is where they display very minimal ability in achieving curriculum's target. This would probably be those who are still at the basic user level. Yeah, basic user level. For performance level 2 is where they have moved up to maybe between A2 to a B1 level. So they are on track. They are going towards a B2. So that will be the range that you can roughly have when you're looking at your students. And level 3 is where they are at B2. Okay, they are already at B2. Now, how do you look at 4, 5, and 6? Now, as described in the table, level 4 is when they have gone a little bit up from, they have shown some ability that might lead them to the next level. Yeah, might lead them to the next level, but not there yet, and they're not fully there yet. They are on the way, they're about to. So the about to group will fall under a level 4. And the level 5 will be those who are already on the track of a B2 plus. Alright, B2 plus means they are already above B2. They're on the track but not fulfilling a plus yet. And level 6 will be those who are already at the verge of C1, but not declaring as a C1. We cannot declare them as C1 because we don't have enough items there to say that they are a C1 user. Okay, so this is how you can explain to your teachers in how you look at performance level. And with knowledge of how you have done at secondary, that will help you to actually gauge your students when you look at the learning standards that you have actually used in the classroom. Okay, up to this point, are you okay? Are you clear?
Yes.
Yeah, because most of the time, this is the part that many would struggle with. Yeah, in terms of content standard and learning standard, they're basically straightforward. But when it comes to performance, then there will be instances where you are not very sure where do you want to place the student. Now, one might ask, when do I use this? Okay, now when you are actually conducting the subject, all right, the English language subject for post-secondary, I'm very sure that you conduct assessment, whether it is a formative assessment or a summative assessment. But some kind of assessment is conducted throughout the semesters. So these will be your descriptors, all right? For example, if you have a weekly kind of assessment, so where do you get these performance standards that will dictate the level of your students? These will be the descriptors that you can use in response to the learning standards that you have actually identified to be assessed. Yeah, so it gives you that idea, or if this student is able to do this, and as indicated in the document, or this student is actually at this level. So you know basically where your student is. And if you are on the right track, whatever test they take, whatever standard-based test they take, it will reflect that as well. Okay? Normally, you might not be able to see that at semester 1, but in semester 2, you'll be able to see where they are already. You will be able to gauge that this is a potential B2, or this is a potential C1, or this is a potential B1 for that matter. Yeah? So it gives you that guideline of preparing the assessment tools for the students as you are teaching the curriculum, the content of the curriculum.
Doctor, we have a question from Puan Noreen.
Yes.
She asked if are we expected to record students' performance level at the end of the semester?
Are we supposed to what again?
Expected to record students' performance level at the end of the semester.
Okay. Now, I am in no position to say whether you to report or not. I believe that will be depending on the institution or the division that is responsible for that particular group. Okay, like College Meritokrasi, they decide that level is reported. I'm not sure exactly when, but like IPG is at the end of the course, right, in which they have to report, because they have coursework and also they have tests that comes with this curriculum. So I would leave that answer to the division or the person in charge to actually cover that. But ideally, for you as a practitioner, you would want to know what level is my student at the end of a particular semester. So maybe for your own record, okay, for your own record, you might want that to happen. But at institutional level, I'm not very sure. I'm not able to answer that. Okay? I hope I've answered your question, Puan Nurin.
Dr. She said thank you.
All right. Okay, can I proceed?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at listening. I'm just going to take listening as a sample because it's the same approach for the other 3 skills as well. So if you were to look at the descriptors that we have for listening, it has been decided of these particular descriptors, yeah? So if you look at level 1, level 2, these will be the descriptors that will reflect the learning standards that has been outlined just now under the learning standards. Okay, so based on those learning standards, when you are performing a particular kind of assessment, you should be able to gauge their level based on these descriptors. Okay, so for a basic user, okay, for a basic user, you're talking about, it's not that they're not able to understand main ideas, but here is about the text. So to differentiate a basic user and a more competent or independent user is how they deal with texts which are more longer, which is extended. They might be able to tackle those shorter texts, all right, with less complex sentences. But when it comes to more extended ones, they are struggling and they need a lot of help with that. So these will be the indicators that will help you to identify whether your student, all right, is actually a level 1 or a level 2. Okay, and moving at level 3, which is the minimum requirement. So if your student is at level 3, that means your student is able to achieve the intended learning standard that you have that is already outlined in the curriculum. Okay, that will be your benchmark. I mean, if your student is a B2 level, they will fall at level 3, regardless of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Because we're not looking at it just by skill. Yeah, here we're saying that it's by skill because we do have people in which they are good at one skill, but they're not in another. Right? For example, I might be a good speaker, but then it might not be the same if I were to be tested for writing, for example. Okay? The same with students. They may be good, productive users of the language, but in terms of the receptive skills, they're a bit weak because the processing will take a lot more than that. So you may find that your students may be good in certain skills, but may be average in others. So this is quite normal in language users. But what we want to have a look is, overall, they should be at that level. So if you find that your learners are actually not at par with or at the target level for a particular skill, probably that would be the skill that you need to give more focus to. So it's upon the discretion of the teachers themselves. Yeah? Okay, so if you look at the descriptors that we have for each of the level, you can see the distinction between the two. Like level 1 and level 2, we're talking about minimal understanding. We're talking about a lot of support compared to level 2, where we look at some understanding, the ability to display some understanding, but the support has reduces. The amount of support that you give is already lesser as compared to level 1. Yeah. So these will be the things that you might need to look out for when you are assessing your learners. Okay, and when they are exceeding the target level, then you are looking at how they respond to the text. Okay, when they are able to understand what they have listened to, then they will be able to respond well to it, So the extent in which they are responding to it will decide whether they are at 4, 5, or 6. Okay, so these are the things that maybe at zone level you can highlight, even for the JUs, so that it gives teachers some kind of guideline on how they can actually tackle the descriptors for performance standards, in their classroom use. It's not for the national use. It's actually more for your use as a practitioner in ensuring that your students are on that track towards B2. No, we do not want our students to be left behind. Let's say they come in, enter at A2 or A2 for that matter. They are at A2. And we do not want them to remain at A2 at the exit of semester 3. So these will be the things that will assist you in ensuring that there is some kind of progress. Even if they enter at A2, even if they exit at B1, that will be an achievement in its own, because they have actually improved. They have already moved a level, in terms of the skills that they are weak at, or even the skills they are. Even if they come in at a good skill, for example, they come in with a B2. I know at SPM level, we also have B2 and C1. But then again, what is the equivalence of that B2 to this particular level? You have to see that. Does it match or not? You as a teacher will then see whether the match is there or not. And if they come in at B2, we are not saying that they should go out at B2 as well. So since our curriculum, acknowledges a B2 plus or extending from B2, so we can say that they can move beyond that. That is where these students who are coming in at a higher level may be those of level 6 or level 5. So this will be your indicator to see whether they are on that track or not. Okay? All right. So you're okay? Content standard, learning standard, performance standard. A lot to digest at 12 o'clock, right? Not a very good timing, but then this is how it is, okay? But I would like you to really digest this, because the hope is for you to convey the same thing to your teachers, all right? Because they will be the implementers. So if this is not conveyed well to your teachers, then the way they interpret things of the document, all right, may be something that hinder us to actually achieve our target level. So that will be something that we need to look into. Okay.
Excuse me, can I ask?
So that's listening. Any questions?
Yeah, I would like to ask a question.
We have a questions,
Yes.
Doctor, from Wan Iselin.
Well,
Hi, Doctor.
hi.
I was just wondering if, let's say, a student is assessed in the 4 skills, but the levels that they achieve for each skill differ. For example, listening, they achieve level 3, speaking level 4, reading level 3, and then writing, let's say, level 2. So can we, put this student at an overall, level? How can we put that student,
All right. If you look at the skills, we're referring to the learning standards. However, we do not have a particular scoring. For example, if you get 2 level 3, 1 level 4, 1 level 5, therefore you are a level 4, for example. We don't make such equation. What the curriculum does is actually we want to see which area or which skills in which they need more help with. So should you find that in listening and reading is where the problem is, maybe more help is needed there, but not sidelining the ones in which they are already at the target level. That means there is still a potential for them to go beyond that. The common equation we will normally use will be if for every skill you got a B2, therefore you're a B2. Okay, we're not saying that you are B2 because you got B1 for listening, you got B2 for reading, you got, the different levels. What we're saying is they're supposed to be at B2 for all the skills.
All right, okay, yeah. I think
Okay, so I understand where you're coming from because you're saying that they come with different target levels or different levels for each skills. Does that equate them to be a B2 or anything less or more?
Yeah.
But we don't have such equation for other curriculum.
It just shows that, at that point, they need
Yes, it just shows you that at this point of time, this particular child is actually a level 3 or a level 4 for listening.
All right.
Okay? But however, let's say you're doing that in semester 1. Okay? At the end of semester 1, you find that. Okay, so from there, you know how to tackle or how to prepare materials for this group of students when they go into semester 2. Because I'm sure you will not be preparing the same kind of materials when they first enter semester 1. If some kind of language progress has taken place, the amount of preparation or the approach you use for your students, the materials that you choose for them might also differ the moment they enter semester 2. But at the end of semester 1, you find that they are still the same as they are when they are at entry level. Then, you might just use the same material, but then you need to push them up so that they go and achieve the level that they are supposed to achieve.
Right. Okay. It's just the interpretation of the performance level that
Correct. It's a reflective of what, if you're talking about these learning standards. Okay, when the students are being taught of this already, I'm supposed to see this kind of achievement. I'm supposed to see this kind of performance from the child. So it gives the teacher that indicator. Help?
Yes, thank you, Doctor. I'm just worried that if they give me that question, where shall I begin, explaining? So
because I understand that, because when you say you're putting them under those levels, right? So you assess them at different point of time throughout post-secondary. So you can actually see whether they continuously or progressively developing, or you can either see that they are not developing, all right, by skill, and what you as the practitioner can, what kind of intervention, for example, that you can actually do in the classroom to help them to be at that level. Okay?
Right. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions that I can address? No? Okay. So, coming back to just speaking. So, speaking, if you have a look at the speaking content standard, yes, we have 3 content standards there. We have 2.1 up to 2.3, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. But if you look at, this is what I meant by we do not cover all the learning standards in the framework. Okay? Now, for speaking, we have, under speaking, we have learning standard 2.1.1 right up to 2.1.10. However, for Form 6, what has been decided is to drop 2.1.2, 2.1.7, and 2.1.9. Okay, so you will only see these learning standards available or seen, outlined in your document. So these will be the ones that you address in your classroom. Okay, these will be the ones that you address in your lessons with your students. Okay, like 2.2.1, the sequence is there right up to 2.2.6, 2.3.1 right up to 2.3.5. Okay, so if you find that there is such gaps in the document, it is done for a purpose. That means it has been decided that we do not deal with that learning standard Okay, so it was actually discussed throughout the workshop in identifying what is relevant and what is not relevant throughout. Okay, so this is the performance standard. Yeah, I know there's a missing line here, right? But basically each level has three about B2, you can deal with very basic structure. The vocabulary you have is very much the frequent one, high frequency words. So they are safely in the basic user, okay? But the moment they are able to extend, they are able to display their ability to use more, not to say totally complex structure, but a variety of complex structure, then they are actually moving up the level. Okay, you can see the distinction between the two. So this will be some of the descriptors for listening. I'm just giving you a preview of it. Okay, and then we have also reading. Right, so reading we have 3.1 right up to 3.5. So you can see that there are a lot of learning standards here. For reading, I think we have quite a lot there. But then if you look at the learning standards that they've identified, for 3.1, they have dropped 3.1.1. And then for 3.2.1, they have up to 6. 3.3.1, right, only 2 learning standards there. 3.4.1 is right up to 3.4.6. And 3.5, they only pick learning standard 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so these will be your focused learning standards, yeah, for reading. So if you look at the performance standards for the receptive skills, the focus is very much similar. So just like listening just now, you can see in the words like minimal understanding and also the word support. So these will be the levels that you will look for, the level of minimum, some, and a lot of support, and some support. Okay, when you actually award for those at the bottom. But for those extending, then you look at how they respond to it, okay? Understanding of the different types of text, okay? Because when you are at 3 and 4, that means you can actually deal with this kind of text. You don't have problem dealing with the extended text, okay? So the same with writing, okay? You have 4.1 to 4.3, and then you have for writing, they basically take everything except for, they have 4.1 for 1 to 0.5, then 4.2, they have 2 learning standards there. The most will be under 4.3.1, which they have 10 learning standards under 4.3. Yeah, this will be the more extensive one. It looks into the genres, yeah, the context of writing as well. So this will be the descriptors for writing, quite similar to speaking because they are both productive skills. Okay. Any questions right up for the main document? Any questions that you would like to raise? Sorry about how do I teach this? Because I believe the JUs we have a few JUs who have been appointed to come up with that session. That will be dealt with tomorrow, right? What's Jenny? Tomorrow
we have one session which is listening.
You have one session.
Yes, this evening, Doctor. Hopefully you'll be with us.
We'll have one this afternoon. Okay, yeah. So that will be looking at how you can actually tackle the learning standards in your own classroom, right? And how do you deal with it? Okay, and then maybe you can look at how the performance standards can be used within the same SIN itself. All right. Shall I proceed to the scheme of work then? I'm really taking up going to take on a little bit more of the time. This one's going to be very quick. All right. Scheme of work. Basically, what's in the scheme of work will be information about the semester, the week, content standard and learning standard, the language focus and function, and the theme or topic. Now, when you talk about a theme and topic, we do not say that you have to do this particular topic, but what we have done is we provide some suggested topics that you can do, because this is very much influenced by your group of students and where you are, the logistics itself. So if, let's say, your students are more prone to the topics that is not listed, we're not saying that you can't, okay? By all means, proceed with that. As long as it comes, I believe any kind of topics that's used under education will fall into the main themes, okay? So in this document, the SOW, it helps you or it guides you in ensuring what you need to teach within the week and within the semester. So what we have done is actually we have outlined it according to the 3 semester. So you will find semester 1, semester 2, and semester 3. And what you can see also is there is a progression to it. Okay, semester 1, we will kind of like revise a little bit of a B1 items or B1 learning standards in semester 1, merely because we are receiving students coming up from secondary 5, in which they are supposed to be a B1 student, okay, a B1 level student. However, reality is not everybody is at the same level, okay? They might come in at different levels. So semester 1 will be the semester in which we try to get everybody on the same page, at the same level, just as how it is done when you exit primary going into secondary. So when you exit primary, you're supposed to be A2, all right? But when you enter Form 1, the teachers are asked to revise the A2 learning standards. Okay, and that is actually included in the document. So a similar approach for post-secondary, whereby our feeder will be our secondary schools. So again, we are not sure whether they are actually a B1 level as a takeoff value. So we need to ensure that within semester 1, we get them steadily on that platform before you can progress them forward. Okay, so the order in which the SOW is being developed is to actually move from a B1 to a B2 and to a B2 plus. That means you will have later, you might have a few items under C1 in semester 2, but you also have quite a number in semester 3 in which you want to bring them further. Not just at B2, but the intention is to be beyond B2 so that they are more prepared when they proceed to the next level, okay, whichever the level is. So this would be how the progression is between semester 1 right up to semester 3. Now you might have questions like, well, I see that some of the learning standards outlined in semester 2 is C1, in which my students cannot cope with C1. So if, let's say, you use or you address that learning standard, then I am anticipating that this student will fall between level 1 and level 2. All right? Just because they are not there doesn't mean that we cannot try to bring them there. So again, how you tackle it within your classroom will be of your own discretion. But again, we are exposing them to that possibility. And well, who knows? A student, a child in which you feel that they are not at that level may exceed the level given the right tools and also the right approach. Okay? So This is the breakdown of the SOW. Semester 1, there's 20 weeks, I believe, because the first week is already done for orientation. Then you have semester 2, semester 3, both carries about 21 weeks. So when I say it's 21 weeks, that means you might have 3 same week covering the same set of learning standards. Yeah. So how you go around it is up to you in terms of the topic, but at this juncture, you have to realize we are not teaching the topic. We're teaching the skill. We're developing the skill. So we are ensuring, regardless of what topic we use within the classroom, they have the skill to do so. They have the skill to tackle whatever text of whatever topic, and they are able to display that ability. Yeah. So this is a preview of how the schema work looks like. So we will have, like, this is for semester 1, you have week 1, week 2. This is some of the learning standards, content standard and learning standard that you are supposed to cover. All right. The reason why it is done this way so that you know you have covered it. And some of these learning standards might pop up again in semester 2 and semester 3. It's not like it's dealt with this at one go. It will recur, you will recycle it, but the way you recycle it will be different in terms of the materials, in terms of the approach, because at the end of the day, we want them to master the skill. Okay? So if you look at the sample I have on the screen, you can see a B1 item and a B2 item there. All right, so that goes to show that this is actually a learning standard pitched at B1, and you have learning standards that's pitched at B2. You will see more of the C1 towards the end of semester 2 and in semester 3. That's more, you can see more occurrence of those learning standards. Yeah. So what we have here is also the theme and topic. I don't have much to say about language focus. I know you know what that encompasses. And in terms of theme and topic, you will have social issue. These are only suggested topics. Okay? When it says suggested, means you can go beyond it. These are not it. Doesn't mean that you have to only focus on the 4. There are many others in which you feel apt for your students. Proceed, as long as it's able to tackle these learning standards. Okay, so this will be how your schema work will look like, and these documents will then be passed down to the respective officer for distribution when the time is right. Okay, so coming back to the level, bear in mind when you're talking about semester 1, just like what we've done for primary, the transition from primary to secondary, they are supposed to exit at A2 mid, all right, for both year 6 and remove class. But when we come to form 1, both from remove class and year 6, they will revise A2. And revise A2 here encompass A2 low right up to A2 mid. Because at form 2 is where they start targeting A2 high. So you can see that the same approach we are doing for the post-secondary, whereby we are going to have a B1 item in our first semester, but then it will then progress going up to B2 and above. Yeah. Okay, so any question?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's it then. We have finished our second video. Please keep your question for later when our MTs comes in for the next slot, which starts at around 11 a.m. So we'll take a break, and you can join us maybe 5 minutes before we begin our next slot that is done by Madam Doreen Da Costa of Kolej Tingkatan 6 Bandar Utama Damansara, which covers listening skills. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back again shortly. So, hope to see you again. And I will give you the link of attendance this afternoon. Okay, thank you, and see you later. Bye.